Hello, everyone. This is James Van Prague. How are you? Is it April? Yes, it is April 12th, I believe it is. April 12th, Monday, April 12th, and it's SoulCARE. And I'm talking to you live in the body from San Diego. And I welcome everybody from all over the world. I look so forward to these Monday events with you. I'm thinking about doing in other ways as well. Friday, we had an incredible free webcast, and we had 700 people. It was just an amazing time. It was supposed to be an hour, and I went an hour and a half because that's the way I do things. And it was great about Mediumship One, and that's you can watch that again. You can watch the replays of that. But today, hi everybody. I'm just got out of yoga, so I didn't have my glasses on, so I can't read names, but I'll do my best. Cynthia, I do have some glasses. Hold on. Oh no, I don't. Yes, no, maybe. Hi there, Cynthia. How are you? Kathy, how are you doing? Patty, hello. Carol, of course, I'm messing up your names because I can't see straight. Amy, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome for, and tell me where you're coming from, where you're calling from, where you're sharing from. Where you're sharing from, what space are you sharing from? I just came from yoga, I mean, like 7 minutes ago, so I'm still in Savasana, so I'm still a little out of it, which is great. We played the song Hallelujah by Sanatam Kaur, who's an amazing being. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Come on in, find a seat. And your seat is good. Today's a really, really special day, and I've been waiting for this day for many, many years. And I don't know how I can say that to you, but it's true. I'm waiting for this particular day for many, many years. My life, as we all know, our lives of before we come back into this incarnation, I believe that our soul sits with our teachers and our guides and our family and friends, so for our soul group, and we really go through the curriculum of what we're going to be learning this time around for our soul. And of course, many lessons, karmic lessons, if you will, positive and negative, and people that we're going to have in our lives that help us to achieve our missions. I do believe in guides and angels, as I'm sure a lot of you do, and a lot of you would like to talk about that. I'm going to do some more stuff on guides and angels. But one thing we don't talk about often enough, which I'm going to really, this is the beginning of it, our earth angels, and those beings in your life. Everybody, one of you had, think of one person in your life that has changed your life in some way, that put you on a certain path, and you were able to accomplish certain things. That if you hadn't met that person, life would not unfold the way it did. And I was very, very fortunate many years ago. Oh God, now that I'm old, let's see, about 40 years ago, I guess it would be, has to be close to maybe 37 years ago. I was working as a medium at the time, and I was doing readings. I was at a Lloyd project, it's the AIDS Project Los Angeles. I was one of the ones that helped form AIDS Project Los Angeles, 19 of us, with Matt Redman, and they needed a spiritual part of the organization. And I was one of many, about 7 others, spiritual people, whether it was rabbis or ministers, or I was the spiritual aspect of that. And I did a demonstration there. And a demonstration that I did, it was a very good demonstration. I brought through details from spirit, opened up a lot of people's minds and hearts. And I remember there was a gentleman in the front row with this girl, and the girl received a very good message. And this gentleman, there was something about him. I loved his aura, his light, something very special. I just liked him. And months later, he came to me for a private reading when they was doing private messages. And we connected, and he's here today. He's my special guest, Peter Redgrove, and he's here today. I'm gonna let him tell the story. But he is an earth angel of mine. He is one of my guides, and he is someone who works. He has an incredible life, and I think a lot of people should look at his life and emulate that. But he really was put into my place to help me to bring the word of life after death out to the public. I sat with Peter, became good friends right away. And we sat in a development circle for many years. Very, very psychic man, very, very psychic, but didn't really push it. But Pisces, very psychic, very wise man. And he was the one who really influenced me to write my first book, Talking to Heaven, because he said, you have to get this out to the world needs you. And I followed his directions, and look where I am today. And I said, Peter, one day you need to help people like you helped me. You have to help get them unstuck, help live their true lives, help them live their authentic self. And I wanted to bring him to you today. It's been many years to getting him to a place where we worked together. I wanted to get him to a position where we can help people as a life, I want to say life coach, but an earth angel for other people, guide, if you will. So I'd like to welcome my good friend and my teacher, my earth guide, Peter Redgrove. Peter, are you there?
Gosh.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
James.
Peter. Welcome.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Peter.
I'm a little embarrassed with all that, those sweet words.
Well, very true, Peter. And Peter was on Oprah with me, by the way. He was the only one out of all the, I think there were 8 people on Oprah that I did readings for. And Oprah only listened to Peter. And great story about how we first met with the reading. Why don't you first tell the people about how we met with that first reading I gave you?
Well, it was very interesting, James. You knew, first of all, you knew nothing about me.
Right.
Other than you'd seen me at that particular session. And the first thing when you opened the door was you said, "Oh, thank God you're here. Your friend has been here for hours."
Oh, really? I don't remember.
So I came in, and my friend was my partner, and he had passed away about 1.5 years prior to our meeting. And we sat down, and you, of course, asked for the blessing, which is a wonderful way to start a reading. And he said, "Oh my gosh, he's Norris is here." And then you stopped, and he said, "He's correcting me. It's Nori." And of course it was Nori. And then you went on to describe, you'd never been to my home, described it through Nori, room by room by room, even to the extent of his favorite photograph. It was in an Art Nouveau frame. So, it became very clear to me that you were the real deal. But more importantly, there was some kind of inspirational note that resonated. And it was hard to articulate, but I knew then that we were going to work together, and that my job was to get you to get the word out. Because, death, dying, the afterlife, it's taboo. It was at the time.
Yes.
And we just don't
very much
talk about it enough. It's as natural an event as birth. Those are the two great common denominators, birth and death. And there's nothing, death is not frightening.
That's right.
It shouldn't be.
And Peter, when we met each other, we did feel, as most people do, we felt the connection of some, we didn't know what it was, but there was definitely a connection, I think we felt.
Yeah, absolute connection. And, as they say, the rest is history. And I was a professional nudge, and I was happy to do it, but I knew how important it was for people to understand that, death and dying is not anything to be afraid of. I'm more.
And you never did anything psychic before that, right? You never really were involved in psychic stuff, pretty much, or not really. No, it's brand new world to you.
No, it was as important an event for me as it was for you, because I suddenly understood my real purpose in life, and it's so important to have a purpose, to have it defined and understood, so that you can move forward in the right, with the right trajectory.
And if I can interrupt you, just one thing you did say, which I want to share with everybody, is that you were someone, and I've been to many psychics, but and you weren't psychic per se, but you saw me from the inside out. You do have an ability to see people from the inside out. You've always been very keen, and actually you taught me this, about how you can see the potential of people.
Yes.
And they don't see it for themselves. And you've always been so incredible at seeing the potential of other people and helping them to move and do it and get unstuck in their lives. Yes. And I wanted you to do it professionally, but for years you weren't able, because you were stuck in your own business as far as a headhunter for the legal firms. Yeah. And I was like, Peter, you got to help people in a different way, but the time wasn't right. Now the time is right. But you've always been so incredible at seeing the inside of people and seeing the potential.
Yeah, it's I'm certainly, as you said, I'm not a psychic, I'm not a medium, but I am an intuitive. I have that gift, and
Yeah.
it manifests itself in what we all refer to as the gut feeling, but I call it nature's tuning fork.
Mm.
And when you meet someone, or when you're in a situation that calls for a decision or answers, it's all here. We have to trust it. I call it nature's tuning fork. When it's right, it will resonate. But a lot of us are afraid to trust it. And that's
Right.
when we make bad decisions. But I knew when I met you, James, that there was a future together. As you know, I've been like a backseat driver, a
Yes.
professional.
And Peter being very humble, everybody, because actually he's been major in helping people in crisis. I must say, several of his friends and associates he worked with, you're able to see a crisis someone is in. Let's say they're stuck in a certain situation in a relationship in their life, a job relationship, living out their potential. And you are able to see the bigger picture. You're able to see the minutia that they're in, right? And then
Yes.
you're able to see outside that. And
Yeah.
you have been incredibly instrumental with so many people getting them out of their way and living their full life. And you've made success of a lot of people, Peter. A
Yeah.
lot, including
Yeah.
myself. A lot.
And
I'm not going to mention the people, but well-known people, folks. And he's done it. So this is my ode to Peter.
thank you.
Sorry, I know
So,
you're embarrassed, but I have to say that.
yeah. Well, I've worked with I found myself, and if anyone had told me when I came to America that I would end up working with lawyers, I would have said you're insane. But I spent 40 years working with the top law firms in this country and Fortune 100 companies. I've counseled and advised professionals who are engaged in thought or in practice in change. And change it's the only constant in this lifetime.
Part of life.
And the smartest people I know are those who embrace it and don't fight it.
And Peter, you've also been very instrumental in tell everybody, and he won't say it, so I got to say it for him. Financially, you're very in tune with whether it's stock market investments. I made some decent money from my investments because Peter said to me, James, this 20, 30 years ago, he said, whatever money you get, you put it in this and you gemstones, whatever it was, and you are 100. I mean, I thank God I have stocks and I have items that may have increased because of your insight financially as well.
If only I'd done it for myself, James.
Heal thyself, right? That's the hardest thing. It's so true. But everybody needs a Peter. I mean, that's what. So, Peter is starting out at 80. Just turned lovely 80 years old.
Just turned 80 a couple of weeks ago.
And we've been talking about this for a while. I said, Peter, you need to help other people like you've helped me, please, because I have so many people in my students and people on my Facebook page, people on YouTube, and they need you. They need you. So I helped Peter put together a program, which he is now going to start. And you're the first. This is actually the very first time you've been in public with this.
Yes,
sort of thing.
It is. And
this is your virgin voyage here.
Yeah.
And so. Anything you'd like to talk about, Peter, about what you can help people with besides being stuck in their life?
Well, first of all, I can help people who are contemplating a change.
Yeah.
A lot of people
life change,
and also career-wise, a job change.
Yeah.
But a job change affects life. It affects not only the person making the change, but it has a ripple effect on the family. And I was always keenly aware of that when I was in the legal recruiting community. But I help people through transformation and change. And I also help a lot of people who are on the verge of or recently retired. And again, a lot of people don't understand the kind of change that retirement brings. it's an overlooked area. And people suddenly, on a Friday, they may be division management, or they'll have a title, and a lot of their persona is wrapped up in that. Come Monday morning, there they are. They ask themselves, who am I now? So they have to kind of regroup and reform and step back into who they were before they embarked on a business career, because a lot of people don't separate the two.
And you go very much into what that person is made from.
Oh, yeah.
You do like a soul reading in a way that you see their abilities, their gifts, potential.
Yes, we explore, the cornerstone values of a person. And that's really what you build on to have a successful life. And successful life has nothing to do with financial life. It has everything to do with the soul, the heart, the people that you touch in life, and the affect you have on people in life. And people who affect in a positive way others are successful. And, I've always thought, how do you define success? Well, it's a very subjective thing. I always think, well, let's look at where you started. The start line is the important line. Some people start with, a silver spoon in their mouths, or the trust fund babies, or they have a great advantage in a higher education. So I walk people through all of the steps that are necessary to affect a change in their lives. And that's what I do, step by step. I walk them through, I take their hand, and I nudge. There's plenty of homework. I assign tasks. But one of the important things that I bring, and my currency, is experience, plain, old-fashioned life experience.
And God knows you've had a lot of different experiences.
I've had a lot. Yeah, I've not coasted through life.
No, not at all. Grew up in an orphanage, beaten by nuns, had her own shop in Florida, worked in literary work and with children. I mean, you've done everything.
Yeah, which
it's on his website. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to tell a story about that, the nuns. I don't know if you remember, James. I know you don't remember a lot of detail about some of your readings, but one of the readings I had with you, there was a curious look on your face, and you looked at me and you said, "Gosh, there's a nun here. Does that mean anything?"
I always had that when a nun comes through. Curious.
Yeah, the nun came through, and it was the nun. I knew immediately who it was. It was the nun who had tortured me the most in that school.
Orphanage when you're a little boy. Yeah.
And you said, she's asking, does it make any sense? She's asking you for forgiveness. And that just blew my mind. And I knew exactly who it was. And, I did. And I have forgiven her. I understand a lot more. As you get older, the filters come off and you begin to see things for what they really are. And all of that experience, but it was an amazing reading. And all of that experience early in life helped me become who I am. And it toughened me up, and it really allowed me to live a life. And I'm sure a lot of the boys that were with me in the orphanage didn't make it. I think of them very, very often. But I'm so grateful to have had that experience.
That's great. It's great, Peter. It made you who you are today. Would you mind answering some questions? People might want to answer some questions. Renee, would you mind? Because I can't read them. So, Renee, you might have to throw some on there if you don't mind. I didn't put my glasses on after my yoga class. I just ran up to my office. Maybe he's not able to. So I'll just see. Okay, Diane. We have Diane Rinaldi. Diane Rinaldi. How many? How many got? I was told by getting what I deserved because I wasn't a good person in the past life. I feel broken.
the one thing I wanted to stress was that my coaching is not cookie cutter approach, a one size fits all. It's deeply and highly personalized to each person and their particular needs and goals and wants. So that's why we do a pretty thorough, in-depth, discovery of each other, really.
Yeah.
I want people to be comfortable with me, too.
Mm-hmm. Ask questions, everyone. If you want to have a question, Peter, put it on here, and I'll try to read it for you. Everybody needs you, Peter, they said. Okay, here's what you said. Would this help mentor us in being a service to others with what we learned from our soul perspective?
What was that? I didn't hear that.
She wants to know, will this help us mentor? Will this help mentor us to helping others from a soul perspective?
Absolutely.
100%.
You can't look.
Exactly.
Self-appreciation, self-value, an understanding of your own worth and value is critical. It's the critical element that you need to have before you can help other people. You have to be very.
And Scott Hoff wants to know an experience of how you helped others in the past. Well, I'm the biggest one he's helped. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah, I've mentored a lot of different people.
A lot of different people, heads of companies, Fortune 500s, political people. He's done it. He's very much behind the shadows, Peter. And this is why he's a very shy man. And I forced him to, because he can force me to write Talking to Heaven. I forced him to do this. I want you to meet. I want people to meet him. I guess, I'm one of many that he's made successful and professional and well-known. You know, a lot of the people, well-known people, he's not at liberty to say necessarily, but I'm to say that. So I would not have been where I am today without Peter nudging me to write Talking to Heaven, to get it. To me, it was just work. It was just getting the word out, enjoying mediumship. But he said, no, there's an important teaching you need to get at the world. It's your soul's journey, James. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And of course, now I know he was 100% accurate. So good. Yeah. Okay, here, another question. Here we go. Thanks, Renee. Something told me to stay for the live session today. I've been going through a lot of identity crisis, and I don't know where I belong. I feel like a person. I am different and complicated. I don't know how to be.
Okay.
Raven Green.
Right. Well, Raven, I, in a sense, faced the same. I had the same question when I left England back in 1964. And I knew that I had to take myself out of the setting that I was in that was holding me back. I knew I couldn't achieve, I couldn't accomplish. I didn't know who I was. I had to remove myself from the situation emotionally and physically so that I could leave behind all of the negative influences and start with a fresh slate. And that's a great question, but it's very complicated. It calls for a real close look inside
soul searching
of yourself. And I can walk you through those steps. And
Peter, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process.
No, it's
programming.
It's a process. Transformation is a process, and you have to be willing to take the time, but you also have to be willing to take a very hard look inside of you. Introspection. That's the word, introspection, and be candid and honest with yourself. Sure. That's the starting line.
Here's another one. Renee, would this help mentor being? Yes, we've already did that one. Renee, we'll do another question. We already answered that one. So we'll get another question, please. Okay, here we go. Now, okay, this is from Diane. She goes, how I need that. I was told I'm getting what I deserve because I wasn't a good person in the past life. I feel broken. We talked about that. We also answered that one, Renee. So you can change anything like that at this moment. You don't bring your past. Every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment, and every thought is a new thought. Just remember that, man.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. There we go. What is the next best move to set my foot in the right direction? This is from Lisa MG.
Well, make sure you're on terra firma first, emotionally, psychologically. That's the best move. And the best move really is to have made the decision that change is necessary. And that one of the virtues, by the way, that we don't pay enough attention to is courage.
Yeah.
Courage to step out of the blocks. And the old idiom, if you don't risk anything, there's no reward. Well, that's a truism. But you have to have the courage to make.
I mean, you've made it this far. You're going to make it further. That's really, you've made it this far. And the universe conspires for your highest good, always.
Yeah. And, the Creator didn't bring us this far to fail. It's up to us.
Okay. Catherine Flynnberg. As I'm getting older, my intuition, my ability to communicate with the other side is stronger. Good. Does spiritual wisdom and openness come with age as well? Of course it does. Would you say, Peter? I would say so.
I would absolutely 100% agree.
Life experiences. Yes.
Well, it is. And I think we learn to trust ourselves and our intuition, nature's tuning fork more. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Okay. Some people die from it looks like some people die and are brought back with nothing happening, while others experience heaven. Why? That's an interesting question. Yeah. Some people die, are brought back with nothing happening. I don't know if you're talking about near-death experience. I'm not sure you're talking about another lifetime. There's always something happening. It might not be outwardly, but there's always movement, always something happening. It might not be what your head wants, that you want certain things. It might be what you need. The soul will know and what it needs to grow. It might not be very obvious to you in your head, but it certainly is in your heart. Yeah. And like Peter said earlier, you got to take yourself and be honest with yourself. I love that terra firma. You got to be grounded. You got to be real about yourself. And what other people think of you is none of your business.
Yeah,
really.
It's. I wanted to. The immediate response I had to that question was, is Sue referring to a near-death experience?
Right. Right. And I would say that definitely something happens. I've had one. This is from Marilyn Brennan. Hi, Peter. I feel you are speaking to me. He is. I recently retired. Now what do I do? Can a person restart?
Marilyn, I'm 80 years old. I'm starting again. I'm like as James said, I'm like the reluctant debutante. Of course you can. You can start. Age is just a number. It's the attitude you bring to the age that determines whether you're old or young. Yes, in short, yes.
You can.
And love to help you.
And Peter has generously, because of his premiere here, has generously given us 10 free sessions. For the first 10 people that sign up on his website, he's going to do 2 sessions free for each of those 10 people. So that's the first 10 people that sign up, and you go to peterredgrove.com. Is that right?
Yes, and go to the contact us page, and just go to the contact page and just indicate you want the free session.
Yeah, the first 10 people.
First 10 people.
That's very generous of you, Peter. I can't even think of how generous that is. Very.
No, I want to do it. I want to honor this audience and mark, my appearance. First time I've been in public.
Yeah, you're doing very well. Well, you weren't Oprah with me, but here's a question.
I have
introspection. That was a whole other thing. Does introspection mean taking inventory on yourself? Yes,
Oh, yes, yes,
very much so.
absolutely. And that's when complete honesty with oneself is critical. Let me tell you a story about that's pertinent to this. When I first came to America, I spent 1 year in Fort Lauderdale, or as it was known at the time, Fort Lickerdale. And I, in fact, started a business, sold it, and that's all in About Me page on my website. But, yes, I moved to New York, and I met, in the course of living there, I met a very, very well-known writer and a Broadway person. And I won't mention his name. But we were out in a restaurant together, and I was being my usual cynical self, which of course is a cover-up for unresolved business and anger. And I think he probably had had enough, and he just got up and he looked at me and slapped me as hard as he could on the face and read me my cards. Of course, horribly embarrassed, I got up, left the restaurant, went back to my apartment, and went to the bathroom, looked at the mirror, and knew at that moment that honesty was what was required in order for me to change from a cynical, angry person into a person that was able and willing to change and take full responsibility for my own well-being, psychologically, emotionally, and physically. My life changed at that moment. Long way of answering the question, but true.
Here's another one for you, Peter. Alicia, I moved 2,000 miles, left my kids, great, to try to start over. Everything I do comes back a failure. Job, relationships, finances, I'm starting to get negative here also. I want to be happy again. I tried everything. What can I do to turn this all around, or will everything fall into place?
Well, yeah, again, it's attitude. And possibly there is the thing that may be affecting you is, I'm not going to psychoanalyze you because I'm not a psychoanalyst, but there may be some elements of guilt
or past trauma.
Affect. Yes, it's a very traumatic thing what you did, and attitude determines success or failure.
But what Peter will do with you, for instance, what he can do, he will go through your life and see what the choices you've made, why you've made those choices. Are they resonating with your soul self, or are they not? Or you're trying to please somebody else, trying to live someone else's life instead of your own life. He's very good at discerning that. So that would be, I would think, Peter, that would be your regular thing. You go back in their history and work that out. That would be, that's an easy one as far as I can see. But you've got to be willing to do the work too.
You've got to do work, and you've got to be willing to be brutally honest with yourself, as I was in front of that mirror in New York. And it was the first time I had confronted myself with truth about the way I had reacted to a childhood that was horrific. And you can't go on in life with the big boulder on your shoulders of anger and disappointment and all of the things, and entitlement. Nobody said we're entitled to a smooth ride in this life.
Right.
And but it calls for a very honest approach to why you made, as you said, James, why you make certain choices. And
and really what the cards are for you to play out why you came back in this lifetime, certain experiences you had to learn from,
yes,
and not be enslaved to, but really honor them and
yes,
live through that and get to the other side of that and be positive about it, because there's nothing we're handed in our life that we cannot handle. There's nothing in our lives we're given that we cannot rise above. And
yeah.
Peter taught me that. Peter taught me that. Peter also taught me to believe in myself. I didn't believe in myself. I believed myself to a point, but he really helped point out to me, and it was really Peter, you don't even know this, but on occasion we'd go out and have a bite to eat or something, and you'd make comments and be like, wow. And it made me think about myself. And I mean, besides a mentor and earth guide, he will say, James, be careful. You cannot do this because you're in the public eye. You got to be careful about doing this. You want to be careful with your money over here. I mean, really, again, it wouldn't be here without him. And I wanted to share him. Peter, a question that I'm thinking some people want to know because I'm psychic. So give an example of a piece of homework you would give somebody, just like depending,
Well,
someone wants to make a move, let's say, to do something completely different. They feel stuck in their lives and let's say they're 65, 70 or 65, 55. They want to make a complete change. What would be one homework assignment you'd give them an example of that?
well, the first bit of homework everyone I would like them to do is I send them a pie chart and ask them to complete it. And it asks questions like, are you satisfied with the life you've lived? Are you satisfied with the decisions about your career? Are you satisfied, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And it gives not only them, in fact, I had a client last week who was a local person, and I asked him to fill this chart out. And he called me after he had done it, and he said, I filled it out and I learned so much about myself, but I'm also embarrassed for you to see it. Well, I probably could have filled it out for you.
Right.
I knew what, just from a short conversation, I knew who this person was. And but he also said, in the first hour I had with him, he said, I've learned more in this hour than I have from months of therapy.
Wow. Yeah, of course.
And it's a journey. It's about learning who you are. And in terms of retiring, yeah, you got to get back in touch with the person you were before your persona was wrapped up in your professional life.
Or appear with other people. That a lot of people live for other people's belief in them, but not themselves. They live what other people want, not yourselves. One thing I want to mention before I forget, Peter also was he helped me at Larry King Live. He was the one who helped me to how to present myself on Larry King Live, how to slow down what I was saying, how to be centered, and how to calm myself down. And you were really incredible about that with Larry King. We'd actually go through, after the show, we'd go through it and say, see here, James, you're going to slow that point down because you got to bring that point across. It's an important point. And it doesn't matter who's speaking. You stop them. You stop and pause, because a lot of people will listen. When you pause, they will listen. And I'll never forget that. And that's helped me my whole career with television. When you pause, they're forced to listen.
Well, that, and we will practice active listening as well. I mean, there are a lot. The approach is hydra-headed. Again, what I'd like your audience to know is this is not anything I've learned from books. I don't have a degree in psychiatry. I've lived most of this. I've gone through, and I've faced a lot of problems in my life, and the problems are not things you can go over, under, around. You got to go through them, because again, this comes back to attitude. If you look at the obstacles that you face as learning opportunities, you then have a whole new way of dealing with them.
You see the value in each one of them.
Yes.
There's a value in each one.
It's a learning opportunity, as you know, and that's what this life is about. You know, the best way I can describe it is, I think we're in the pit stop of the universe, and I think when we have seminal events in our life, it's like the race cars coming in to have the tires rotated or the oil changed or whatever tuned up. We're here for tune-ups.
Yes, you're right. Tune-ups. Exactly.
So the next incarnation,
you'll know better.
Repeat the same lessons.
Peter, I'm going to interrupt you again by saying something you taught me many years ago, which I'm going to share with everybody because people have heard me say this. Peter said to me once years ago, James, and he used to be a hospice. He worked with a hospice when no one was doing hospice. Peter was doing hospice for AIDS patients years ago. And I mean, he helped so many people over. It's amazing. His beautiful voice and his demeanor. Wise man, as you can see, everybody. Wise soul. He said to me once, you know, James, the dead never go without leaving gifts behind. And people have to have the faith to open up that gift and see what's inside. And that's from Peter. A lot of my stuff in my book I got from Peter. Sorry, Peter. I robbed it from you.
Okay.
But a lot of that wisdom is from Peter, no doubt about it.
You know, it's
life's a
journey.
You're an amazing gift to the world, Peter. Thank you. Look at that from Susan.
Oh, thank you, Susan. That's so sweet.
It's true.
It's so sweet. Thank you. No,
a couple more questions, Peter. How about that? A couple more questions from people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because a good opportunity. Okay, here you go. This is from Lydia, and she asks, I have been watching you for years. I assume she means me. You are very precise with knowledge of others. I'm glad you are on here. I watch you and listen to as much as what you say. Thank you. Thank you, Lydia. Thank you. And next, we're looking for a question, I guess. Renee, if we can get a question, that'd be great. Thanks, Lydia. Appreciated that. Very kind. We have very kind people here. Good question, James. What is a 65-year-old to do, or what can they do at this stage in their life?
Okay. Gosh. First of all,
start living.
Start living and rediscover your passion. Everyone has a passion for something. And I'll give you an idea about what can you do. Well, I was approaching my 60th birthday, and I thought I've got to do something that's going to challenge me. It's going to force me to face a fear. And it's something, physical. So I embarked on a bodybuilding.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And you were there, James.
What?
And I prepared for it for 2 years. And I entered my first competition. It was at Western States in San Diego. And I won the competition, my age group. And in fact, you can see a picture of it on my website. But it's a really good example of what you can do regardless of age. 65, from where I'm looking, that's young. You got,
just beginning.
Yeah, you explore what it is that makes you happy. But the point of that other story about the bodybuilding is create an intention and manifest it. That brings you so much satisfaction, and you can be an inspiration to other people. And it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It can be a lot of different things. Have you always wanted to be a writer? Look for what pleases you, what is a passion for you.
Here you go, Peter. This is from Shara. She says, I don't believe in myself either. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. It's so hard to know what's from ego or from spirit.
James?
Well, to their own self, I always go back to their own self be true.
Yeah.
The essence of who you are is spirit. That passion Peter's talking about is spirit. That essence of love is spirit. We have to be very careful of the brain. We get too caught up in the head and the critical mind. The critical mind is the ego. The critical mind of what people think of me. That's you've lived your life depending on what other people think of you, and you've given away your power to other people. And it's time now to get back your power and start believing in yourself. As Peter said, passion. Find the things within yourself that you love to do. And there are many things. Don't push yourself off yet. You're still young. You still have a life to live. Life is really a gift that we're given.
Oh, it is.
And I tell you that from my perspective, talking to hundreds of thousands of spirits, if not millions, and they say it is precious. You might not know it at the time, but it's precious. Every day, do something different that ignites that flame within yourself. And you can do that, Sarah. So they're very, very, very small. Is it Sherry? Sarah. So very small. So with a very small thing you want to do, plan to plan, write a little song, write a poem, something. Each day do something different.
Yeah. And think about what it is that's causing you to not believe in yourself. What is it? Get down to the core of what it is that's generating those feelings. And that's something I have done and do with clients, with people. And again,
Peter, do you think people hold on to that? Do you think people hang on to that pain body? I'll call that, Eckhart Tolle refers to the pain body or
yes.
the victimization. I'm more aware of the victim. I want to play the victim role. Not they mean to, but they get into that whole victimhood.
Yes.
Or professional grievers as well.
It's stuck in a rut. And you have to extricate yourself from that emotional environment, that intellectual environment that's causing you to have those feelings of uncertainty about yourself. And, part of it also is looking for affirmation and approval from other people. You end up not living your own life. You're living somebody else's life. As you said, James, be true to yourself. But the cornerstone of kind of rebuilding so that you have a positive self-image is being true to yourself. Become the person you're meant to be. Become the authentic person that you are. The individual, authentic person that you are.
Because you'll never be happy with someone else. I showed this to Peter before he started, and I'll show it again to you. Be yourself. Everybody else is taken by Oscar Wilde. Yeah. And it's true. And I've said this, Peter, often. I've said, God to me is that diversity in everyone, that every single person is God, but we're all different, like snowflakes. Every snowflake's unique. Every person is a unique expression of God. And I always say, if people would celebrate the diversity, the colors, the languages, the countries, the beliefs, that's God. That's the totality of God, all those differences. And that's really, I think people have to get into that, the totality, and be different. Because when you're different, you show people, you teach people about things when you're different. I was watching last night a show about transgender, and they're trying to, something about medicines. It's like, let people express who they are, what they're about. Stop trying to control people. Let people express who they are. That's really what it's about. As long as you don't hurt somebody, express who you are. Here's another question from Stacy. I really appreciate you being a guest today, Peter. See, Peter, you're loved. I'm so happy to share you. Can you say more about courage? I feel that sometimes I have more courage at certain times than others. How to maintain a level of courage to go for what I want? Thank you.
Well, as I said before, I think it's one of the underappreciated, undervalued virtues. Courage. It's a tough one. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with how you think other people are seeing you or thinking about you. You have to let that go. And you have to have the level of value, self-worth, and not live for other people's approval.
Amen.
I remember something you said to me, James, before that bodybuilding contest, and it stuck with me. And I said, just the thought of going on stage in nothing but a French bikini and going through this whole routine, it was terrifying. There were about 3,000 people there. And you looked at me and you said, Peter, you can do this, own it.
Mm.
And the moment I stepped on stage, I remembered what you said, and I was going to own it. And Stacey,
and you did, you owned it.
I owned it. And whatever it is, Stacey, that you're aiming to do, don't wait for other people to approve you. Own it, do it, go for it. If you imagined it, you can do it.
So true. We have one more here. Catherine, Peter, so nice to see you living an extraordinary and fulfilled life. Everyone has passion, but few have the ability to really use it. You rock.
Oh, gosh. Thank you, Catherine.
He does. He rocks.
It's nice to be referred to as you rock. Life. But again, I don't know what 80-year-olds are supposed to feel like.
It's just a number.
It's just a number. I don't feel old. And, thanks to James, I'm kind of here doing this, like, as I said, the reluctant debutante. But my goal really is to help people and to help people become who they're meant to be. My work is very, very personalized.
It is
not the same for everybody. And that's why I don't have these proscribed and prescribed programs. I'll work with everybody in a way that's unique to them and their needs and the changes or whatever it is that they come to me for help with.
Even people that have lost people he can help you with, because he's lost many people. Peter's been through a lot of grief. Peter has helped me going through grief. So there are going to be a lot of people that he can help with that if that gets in the way, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, in my work in hospice, I spent 7 years doing that, 1 full day a week. It was extraordinary, probably the best work I've done in my life, but very enlightening. And I think that you learn a great deal from people who are about to pass. And I helped a lot of people pass through that door that we're all going to walk through. And it was extraordinary time, extraordinary work. I learned a great deal. Probably, as I said, the best work I've done in my life. And I see somebody ask me if I have written a book about my life. Well, James, yeah, he's being what I was to him, the professional nudge. And, I'm not a writer by nature. I speak, I talk. And so if there are any ghostwriters out there, please, it's an extraordinary life.
You'll read his bio. So Peter you can get to Peter at peterredgrove.com, PeterRedgrove.com. And the first 10 people that will sign up, he'll do 2 sessions free for the first 10.
Yeah.
And his rates are very low. I'm trying to get Peter to go a little higher, but it's okay. He'll get there. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, Peter, very much for sharing who you are with everybody. And I hope everybody will take advantage, at least check you out on your website or to listen more. And I'll have you on my show on April 19th. You will be visiting Kelly White and myself on Both Sides Now and Beyond. We'll have a whole hour with Peter on that show. And that's going to be great. It's going to be How to Unstuck Your Life. It's going to be called.
Yeah. And that's the goal. Let's all get unstuck together. Dig ourselves out of that rut. Many of us are in.
Thank you for being my guide, my earth angel, Peter. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gloria. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. God bless you all.
I look
Thank
forward
you, Renee.
with some of you. God bless.